Greetings. Again, I am Christian Molly, a third-year accounting student originally from Tampa, Florida. Today at SBIans, I have the esteemed pleasure to introduce our guest speaker, Dr. Friday-Stroud. Dr. Shawnta Friday-Stroud is the Vice President for University Advancement, Executive Director of the Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University Foundation Incorporated, and Dean and Professor of Management in the School of Business and Industry at FAMU. She is a former McKnight Doctoral Fellow and a former McKnight Junior Faculty Development Fellow. Dr. Friday-Stroud received her PhD in Business Administration with a concentration in Management from Florida International University in Miami, Florida, and her Bachelor's and MBA from Florida Agricultural and Mechanical University. Dr. Friday-Stroud has over 20 publications and 25 years of consulting experience. SBIs, without further ado, please give a warm SBI welcome to Dr. Shawnta Friday-Stroud.
I am going to start by letting you all know what today's forum is all about. It's really kind of to talk to you about the SBI curricula, and curricula is the plural for curriculum. And I just want y'all to know, I have to put this out there because I can see Dr. Harper on the screen. And so when I know that Dr. Harper is watching me when I'm doing presentations, I always count my ums, and I try to make sure that they are minimal and that I do not make any grammatical errors in my speaking. So I'm saying all that to you all now to let you know, as much as we have expectations of you to perform highly, and as much as we critique you all in your performance on a daily basis, we too hold ourselves to that same standard and still feel accountable to others when we make our presentation. So I'm just giving you all that as context, because I will start talking and then periodically I see Dr. Harper's face and I just say, oh, okay, I got to make sure everything is perfect. So I want you all to know that, again, what you all go through, I go through as well, even after 30 plus years of having finished school, right? So if I can go through it, make it through, get to the other side, you all can do the same thing, but understand that this is a lifelong process, that learning never stops, that critiquing never stops, and that at the end of the day, it's all designed to make you better. So with that, I am trying to speak slower than I normally do, because I know Dr. Harper is going to be counting my ums. And I tend to say ums when I start talking fast and my mouth can't keep up with my brain. But as I also say, knowing what you're dealing with is half the battle. And since I know what I'm dealing with, then I have to say woosah, try to bring it back and keep everything tight. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. And I will go on slide view. So can you all see my screen and my presentation, which says unpacking the fundamentals of SBI's curricula? So again, I'm going to talk about SBI's curricula, which are accounting, business administration, economics, facilities management, supply chain management. And we have programs at the bachelor's level, and we have programs at the master's level. And so one might ask, why am I doing this, right? Why is this the topic for today's forum? And I will tell you, it's the topic for today's forum because I really believe that if students have a broad view of what it is that they're doing, then it makes it easier to understand why you're doing it. I know a lot of times as students, you feel like we're just telling y'all to do stuff just to make you jump through hoops, and it doesn't make sense to you. And while it may not make sense to you right now, I promise you there is good reason, in fact, a lot of good reason why we have you all do what you do, because we know the finished product that we want you all to be when you graduate and when you leave here. right? And so my title today and my topic of discussion today is unpacking the fundamentals of SBI's curriculum. So the building blocks or the boxes that we're going to unpack of the SBI curricula include talking about the various disciplines within business to help you understand what they are and how they're interrelated, and why, even if you don't think you like a subject or want to take a subject, why it's important in the overall scheme of what it is that you want to do. So we're going to unpack accounting, finance, economics, management, marketing, information systems, analytics, business law, supply chain management, facilities management, professional leadership development, internships, and then the broader business administration. So let's start out with accounting. Let's unpack accounting. Accounting is the process of recording transactions pertaining to business. So I know you all take a lot of accounting and you don't like accounting. Well, I didn't like accounting either when I was in school. I started out as an accounting major. By the end of my first semester, I was a business administration major. But I will tell you, I use probably as much accounting as I use management or anything else in what I do in my job today, right? So even if you don't want to be an accountant, understand that if you want to lead any type of business, whether it be your own business as an entrepreneur or lead some multinational corporation or their business units, you need to understand accounting. And again, we're giving you the building blocks to be successful leaders in whatever industries you choose to go into after you graduate. Accounting is also the process of summarizing, analyzing, and reporting a business's financial transactions and health to oversight agencies, regulatory, and tax collection entities. So for example, you have to be able to report to the IRS. And truth be told, just like you learn accounting for businesses, when you have to do your income tax returns, you're basically doing accounting on your own personal finances, right? And so understand that accounting is everywhere, even when you don't recognize it. It is accounting for whatever assets you have, liabilities you have, and then being able to kind of paint a picture of what your financial health looks like. And then in many cases, you have to report that. So again, even us as individuals, we have to report to the IRS. It also is the measurement, processing, and communication of financial and non-financial information about economic organizations. So if any entity, I don't care if it's a non-for-profit, and for those of you all who want to be entrepreneurs, I will tell you this: you definitely want to understand accounting, because you could say, you know what, I can go hire an accountant. You're absolutely right, you can. And as soon as that accountant realizes that you don't understand anything about accounting, he or she can take you for all you have and leave you in a world of trouble and high and dry. So at a minimum, even if I hire somebody to do something, I want to have a basic understanding of what that is so I can do my own checks and balances on their accuracy and on their performance related to my content. Okay. It also includes major concepts like debits, credits, assets, liabilities, revenues, expenses, profit and losses, profit margin, balance sheets, financial statements, cash flows, accounts payables, accounts receivable, accruals, equity, capital, the accounting period, the cycle. Like the university, we're on a fiscal year of July 1 through June 30th. That's what our accounting cycle is. Some companies are on a calendar year accounting system where that's January 1 through December the 31st, right? So all of these are very important. I think like the federal government, they are on a October 1 to September 30th fiscal year. So the understanding these, it really helps you to be able to compare apples to apples, right? And so, and what you'll see through this presentation is that there are going to be concepts that I'm talking about right now in accounting. You're going to see some of those same concepts in finance, but they may be applied differently, right? And so at the end of the day, what I want you all to start to see is the integration of all of these disciplines so that you have a better understanding for why you're doing what you're doing. My wholehearted belief is that if you understand why, then it makes it easier for you to learn whatever it is we're trying to get you to learn. All right, let's see, next. All right, so then our next subject that we're going to unpack is that of finance. So finance, it's the management, creation, and study of money and investments. It examines how and why individuals, companies, and governments acquire money, which is also labeled capital, that is needed, and then how they spend it or invest it, right? And so one of the things that you'll start to learn too in all of these disciplines that like money, capital. So when you're in a class and you're taking and they start talking about capital, you need to recognize that capital is really just money, right? So getting your dictionary or glossary of terms, business terms, is going to be very important to you being a successful leader, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to be able to speak the lingo. You got to be able to talk the talk that everybody else is talking. And then it also includes activities that are associated with banking, leverage, or debt. Again, somebody could say, we're going to leverage something. That means we're going to get some debt, or we're going to borrow some money to help pay for something, right? You need to understand what these terms mean. Similar with credit, we might be buying it on credit. We don't have the money right now, but we're going to get somebody to lend us the money. And when they lend us money, they're going to charge us a fee for that money that they lend it to us, okay? Then you have capital markets, the time value of money, and investments, right? And so again, accounting talks a lot about the elements that we deal with in finance, but it looks at it from a different angle. All right. So we'll move on to our next topic. And our next topic is unpacking economics. So economics deals with the production, consumption, and transfer of wealth. It's the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. In economics, we study how individuals, businesses, governments, and nations make choices about how to allocate their limited resources. And if we think about right now, one big area around economics is has to deal with these stimulus packages, right? And what the United States is doing. There's a cost to all of these packages, the economic cost to these packages. It also deals with the scarcity of resources, namely money, supply and demand, cost and benefits, and incentives. They're all economic concepts that can help to explain the decisions that humans make. So think about this. We make decisions based on what we have or don't have, what we perceive we need or want, right? And so we make decisions, and many times using a cost-benefit analysis that we're actually doing knowingly or unknowingly when we make decisions to either spend money or to do things with limited resources that we have, right? And so again, that's what the subject of economics deals with. Cuts across a lot of concepts that we talk about in accounting and that we talk about in finance. All right. The next subject is management. We're going to unpack management. Management is basically the administration of an organization, and it's the art and science of using humans, people, financial, money, and informational resources to effectively and efficiently achieve organizational resources, right? Or organizational goals. And so that could be technology, that could be you get access to a whole lot of data, and then what do you do with that data? So management is the art and science of kind of marrying how people interact with the processes of an organization to ultimately get to the goal or achieving the goal that the organization wants to achieve. And it includes the 4 functions of planning, organizing, leading, and controlling, right? And so again, it deals with people, it deals with processes, and it deals with systems and structures. So how do you get all of those things working together? I say, you know, clicking on all cylinders so that you can get the optimal performance out of the people that you have, the processes that you're using, and the resources that you have. Okay, so those that I can see. Is any of this making sense so far? Okay, you know, just, I feel like I'm talking to myself because I can only see but so many of you all, so y'all excuse me. I usually like to have a dialogue with people as opposed to talk at people, so tad bit strange, but here we go. All right, so our next subject that we're going to unpack is marketing. And marketing includes the activities that a company undertakes to promote the buying and selling of its products or services. It includes things like advertising, selling, delivering the product to the consumers. And so you may hear things like B2C or B2B, and that's whether you're going to sell directly to the consumer, which is B2C, business to consumer, or if you're a business that sells to other businesses who may then sell to the consumer. And so if you're selling to other businesses, then that's B2B, right? And it also involves understanding the product, how to price the product, how to promote the product, where to make the product, how to package the product, how to position the product, and how people will use the product, right? Because you could create a product or a service, but if it's of no value to anyone, will you be able to make a sale? Probably not. You might buy it, but no one else may. So it's really understanding how all of those elements work together, right? And truth be told, if nobody buys your product, you don't have much to account for. You don't have much money. You don't have much capital, right? So you're going to have a hard time financing something. And then, you know, there's no supply and demand, right? You might have the supply, but there's no demand. And then what people you're going to manage, because you're not going to be able to hire people because you didn't sell anything and you didn't make any money. So hopefully you all can start to see how all of this stuff is interrelated. All right. The next topic that we're going to unpack is information systems. And information systems is an integrated set of components for collecting, storing, and processing data for improving the information flow and knowledge of your products and or related to your products and or service, right? It's used to manage the operations, interact with customers and suppliers, and gain a competitive edge in the marketplace. And it's also used to help us process financial, human resources, marketing information, and all business transactions that help inform decisions that businesses will make. So a lot of times we think about this as very high-tech technology or technology that's used to drive the back office of a business, right? And it's really trying to make the processing of business transactions easier, such that you can take a lot of data and sift through that data, comb through that data, and then use that data, get it in a usable format that you can use to help you make decisions, right? And so it's very important that you understand, and you know, we do a lot of that on computers. Now in the cloud, you just almost have to have a device to access to get you to the cloud to be able to use a lot of information systems that help you run your business. And so again, what I hope you all are starting to see is how all of these things that you take, all these courses that you take throughout the SBI curricula, again, regardless of what discipline you're in, what major you're in, you are getting fundamentals in all of these that are going to help you to be able to be in a position to make better decisions. All right. Our next topic is analytics, right? So now that we have all this data because we're using information systems, what do we do with it, right? So analytics is the systematic computation or analyzing of data and statistics. So, you know, you gotta, once you get the data, what do you do with it? Having data in and of itself isn't necessarily useful. It's what do you do with the data? And I always used to say to students, and I still say it to students, you all today have access to way more data, way quicker than we ever had access to data. Back in my day, we used to have to go to the library and go through the card catalog and go through searching, like looking up, following numbers, and then go through stacks of books and stuff to be able to get to the information we wanted. You all today, me too, can, you know, click on a device and type in what you want and blip, blam, bloom, you got some stuff, right? But what I say is this, the difference between you all and us from back in the day is, do you know what to do with the data? So just because you have access to it doesn't make you more knowledgeable or more powerful if you don't know what to do with it. And so what we're trying to help you all learn is how to actually sift through the tons of data that you have access to figure out which data is actually relevant, how to analyze it such that you can find meaningful patterns to then help you make better decisions. So analytics, you use it to discover, interpret, and communicate meaningful patterns in the data. But you got to be able to look at the data. You got to be able to analyze the data. And you want to do that for effective decision making, right? It's the simultaneous application of statistics, computer programming, and operations research. So it's really very interdisciplinary and a very quantitative area, right? But I can tell you, if you gain skills in this, it will set you light years ahead of your competition, right? Because when you can sift through data quickly and make sense of that data to make better decisions, you will be almost in a class by yourself, right? And it also includes things like predictive analytics, prescriptive analytics. So predictive, can you predict like what may likely happen based on what has happened in the past? Prescriptive, we're going to just tell you, hey, you do these things, this is the outcome you get. Enterprise decision making, so making decisions at the larger organizational level. Descriptive analytics, I'm just describing what happened. Cognitive analytics, how are people thinking about and using it, right? Big data analytics, so not just small sets of data, but like huge sets of data. Retail analytics, if you're going into working for a business, how are people, you know, what are their preferences and buying patterns that are going to dictate what products or services you purchase or don't purchase. In some cases, companies are actually using retail and predictive analytics to get you to buy stuff that you didn't even have plans or desires to buy, but because they've been able to package it, structure it, and, you know, sell it to you in a certain way, you buy stuff you didn't even intend to buy. Right? But it cuts across every discipline. Supply chain, analytics is used in accounting. It's used in management. So again, analytics is one of those things that cuts across all disciplines. And when you have an understanding of it, it can make you better, right? You can perform better because you're able to have access to more credible data to help you predict what may or may not happen. All right, next we are going to talk about unpacking business law. So one might say, well, I don't need to be a lawyer. Again, I can go hire a lawyer. You can, but I will tell you, there are a lot of legal requirements for any and everything that you want to do, right? From, you know, you got business license, you got to register with SunBiz in the state of Florida if you want to operate a business in the state of Florida, right? You have to report money to the Department of Revenue based on sales of your products and services. So you need to really understand how laws impact you in a business, right? In commerce. And there are a lot of different state, well, you know, county, city, county, state, and national and federal laws that impact how you do business. But it also helps to maintain order among business, right? So we don't want to be out there like the wild, wild west and people just doing what they want to do. And we don't have any boundaries to know what's good business practice and what's not good business practice. It includes things like contracts, employment law, intellectual property. If you develop something, you come up with it, right? You want to be able to profit from it. But if somebody can steal your idea and they can make money from it, then you're left in the cold if you don't go through and take legal steps to protect your stuff. Deals with real estate, bankruptcy. Hopefully you'll never have to deal with bankruptcy. But again, there are federal, state laws, and even administrative laws and regulations that we have to adhere to. And so it's just a body of rules, whether they're by convention, agreement, or legislation that govern the business dealings between people and businesses in commercial matters. Next, we're going to unpack supply chain management. Supply chain management is the flow of goods and services, and how you manage that, right? So it involves the movement and storage of raw materials, of work in process inventory. And a lot of times we used to say, you want just-in-time inventory, do you want to hold the inventory, right? Of the finished goods, as well as the end-to-end order fulfillment, from the time you started at the point of origin till it gets to the consumer, whether that be a business or a person, which is your point of consumption. So it's everything that goes from taking something to a raw material all the way to a consumer using it. And how do you create, or I say create value, but really how do you cut out waste or extra costs in all of those steps, right? So it's the design, planning, execution, control, and monitoring of supply chain activities with the objective of creating value, building a competitive infrastructure, and leveraging things worldwide so that you can synchronize supply and demand and then measure performance against that. So, it may be cheaper for you to get your products, your raw materials from China, right, than it is for you to get it from, Singapore, right? But you don't know that if you don't go through and do the research, the analysis, right? And supply chain is interconnected, interrelated, and interlinked networks, channels, and nodes of businesses that combine such that you can provide products and services that are required by the end user. So again, in some cases, you can go back and see how what I just talked about here with supply chain management is very closely tied to marketing, right? And so what I want you all to start doing is really start thinking through what are the inner relationships between the different disciplines. Unpacking facilities management. What is facilities management? It is an interdisciplinary discipline or a profession that ensures the functionality, comfort, safety, and efficiency of the built environment by integrating people, place, process, and technology. So let me give you an example of where facilities management is really, really big. Think about what happened in Texas this last week and a half or so, right? The built environment are buildings that people are housed in. And if all the systems are not working right, whether you got utilities coming in, whether your HVAC is working, all those things, if they're not working optimally, it could be bad for the people inside, right? And so if you think about it, most businesses, their largest assets are tied up in the buildings that they own. And so facilities management, I say, is kind of like what personnel was back 30, 40 years ago and how it is now elevated to human resource management, right? So now the management of facilities is very integral to companies' overall strategies, right? Because again, you got to tie it back to the accounting and the finance, right? When you got to account for things on your balance sheet, your assets, those buildings are going to show up on your balance sheet. So again, I want y'all to think about how all of these disciplines and concepts are interrelated. Facilities management also deals with effectively managing the places in which people work, play, learn, and live, and that they are safe, comfortable, productive, and sustainable. So if you think about now, we're going through a whole lot around sustainability. How do we make things more energy efficient? All of that plays into facilities management. And facilities management, again, it contributes to the organization's bottom line through their responsibility for maintaining, again, what are often their most valuable assets, property, the buildings that they own, the equipment that works within those buildings, and other environments that house like personnel, productivity, inventory, and other elements of operation. So again, facilities management is very integral to any business. And I would say, even if you're an entrepreneur and you say, oh, well, I don't have a business, but guess what? You're working out of your home or something. So that is your built environment. And if your home office setup is not optimal, right, it could impede potentially your ability to be as productive as you could be in your own business. So again, I challenge you to think through how all of these disciplines apply to whatever discipline it is that you're choosing to study. And you will be a more valued asset in your organization, not only if you understand your discipline, but if you understand how your discipline interacts with all the other disciplines. Hopefully I'm trying to get that point across, because, you know, y'all, I am getting old, but a lot of times when I say things multiple times, it's not always because I forget, which sometimes I do, but it's really because I want to reinforce it so that it starts to become ingrained in your thinking. Now, let's talk about you all's favorite subject, my favorite subject, professional leadership development, which is a cornerstone in all of SBI's curriculum, right? Our favorite subject. And I will tell y'all, as a student, I think I shared this story before. Freshmen, you all may not have heard it before, but I'm gonna go ahead and share it again. So for those of you all who have heard it before, just indulge me, right? I came to college as a freshman thinking I was gonna wear jeans, tennis shoes, and t-shirts every day. I was like, this is gonna be the life. And then I came to SBI and I was rudely disappointed, right? Because I had to end up wearing suits 2 to 3 days a week, right? And I had to go and participate in all of these team assignments and projects, right? I thought I was just gonna come in and do my thing and go. Wasn't that way. But here's what I will tell you. As much as you may dislike PLD now, I promise you it will be the thing that sets you apart and sets you up for success in all of your future career endeavors, whether you aspire to be CEO of some existing corporation or whether you want to be the next CEO extraordinaire of your own business, right? Our professional leadership development program, it provides you with the training, whether you like it or not, that develops you and provides you with professionalism skills, business acumen, and all of the soft skills necessary to excel in any business environment. We require you to dress professionally, to interact with business professionals, to work in teams, to be individually accountable by attending and actively participating in all PLD activities, and to make sure to adhere to all PLD dress codes and attendance requirements, right? So that you can be eligible for a passing grade in all your PLD components. And let me tell you, now I recognize that you all, again, let's go back. I talked about cost benefit analysis, right? And we do that in finance and you also do it in economics, right? So you do a cost benefit analysis. And some of you all may say, well, I'm gonna take the L on this component of PLD and I'll just, get the C, right? And honestly, if I'm looking at my GPA and when Dr. Williams used to talk about, and now Professor McKenzie talks about like managing your transcript, why in the world would you want to take an L or a C? Because to me, a C is an L in PLD, right? Truth be told, a B is an L in PLD. Why would you want to take the L on a subject or in a class that, one, somebody's going to look at your transcript and they're going to evaluate it, right? And two, if you show up dressed in form attire when required and actively participate and turn in your assignments, you could get an A. Like, to me, PLD is like the easiest A's you could earn. So over the course of your undergraduate curriculum, if you're required to take 8 PLDs, that's 8 hours of A's. Why would you not want those easy A's? Like, why wouldn't you want to save the B for like a real hard class, like accounting? I'm just saying, right? So let's think about the cost benefit analysis of this. And I know it's not necessarily something that you want to do, but I'm telling you, it will pay dividends for you in the future, right? And we have, yes, our PLD courses, and we have our student-run companies, which is where you actually get to practice your leadership skills It serves as the living laboratory for you to practice what you learn in the academic setting, what you learn in your PLD courses, to practice them here before you go out and perform on an internship. Because at the end of the day, the goal is for you to perform successfully on the internship so you can get job offers, right? Everybody wants a job. Everybody wants a job paying a lot of money. Okay, if you want a job paying a lot of money, why are you going to show somebody a transcript with a C in PLD? Like, that just don't make sense to me. Let's do the cost benefit analysis of this, right? And again, maybe I'm old and I don't understand, but I just don't understand why you would take the L on that. Like, that's the easy part. Get the easy part so that you can save your energy to work on the real hard stuff. PLD isn't hard. It's tedious, but it's not hard, right? And so I just want you all to really think through, you know, why we have you all doing this. I know sometimes it seems like it's chaotic, but look, when I told y'all back at the beginning of the fall that those of y'all in SBI, you were built for such a time as COVID, the reason that I said that, and honestly, the reason that you all inspire me every day is because COVID has brought about a lot of chaos in everyone's life, right? But even in the midst of all of this chaos, you all have figured out how to successfully navigate this. And you may not want to give credit to it, but I'm going to tell you that I believe that all the chaos that we've taken y'all through, organized chaos, let me put it that way, all the organized chaos that we've taken you all through and take you all through as a part of professional leadership development has again prepared you for such a time as this. If you were able to go through and think, oh, everything is ho-hum, hunky-dory, there, you know, life is great, I can plan everything out, there's nothing unexpected, you would be kind of shattered right now dealing with COVID. But you all literally were built for a time such as this. And PLD and our SBI curricula are what have prepared you all for this time. So I promise you, even though you don't like it, you will be the true beneficiaries of all of this when you get out of here. 5-10 years from now, I just ask y'all not to forget your little peons, faculty members, professors, you know, like think about us when you know, make it big. And you'll look back and say, oh yes, it's because of all of that stuff. Y'all might use some other terminology, I get it. But all of that stuff that they took me through, but that has now set me up for success where I am now, okay? Let's see. Now my next subject is internships. Internships are designed to do a couple of things. I say, not only figure out what you want to do, but to figure out what you don't want to do. A lot of my internships actually told me what I didn't want to do, but it was valuable, right? Because I knew early on what I didn't want to do. It also is designed to help you earn money and academic credit. So you're earning credit towards your degree, and then you're also earning money, right? That should hopefully be able to help you pay for your degree. It also provides you with the relevant work experience that you'll need to give you a competitive advantage over other people applying for jobs. And then it also provides you with networking opportunities. And here's what I say, even if you had an internship and you didn't like the job, never, ever burn bridges. Never, ever burn bridges, right? Because you never know. It may not be the job for you now, but 5 years from now, they may create a new position, which might be an awesome job for you. And you got to think through, you know, how does all of that work? And so one of the other things that I would say is all these PLD activities that you all do, they also set you up to be successful on internships. Now, one of the things that I need y'all to stop doing when you're interacting with the corporate guests, right, and close-ups and such, a lot of the things that we train you all on, they are for you to know, not for you to necessarily disclose to the guest. So like if you're asking your question in form or in close-up, you don't say my premise 1 is this and my premise 2 is that. And then my question is this. What you say is, I was reading this article in USA Today and it says blah, 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 blah. And as a result of that, blah, 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 blah. And so my question to you is, how's your company responding to that? I never told them what my premise 1 was or what my premise 2 was or that my question was coming. I was able to deliver that in a very conversational manner. So what PLD does and what internships do is they help you to practice these skills such that you come across as competent in being able to do them, right? We call it unconscious competence. You're so competent that you don't even realize that you're competent. You're not conscious about it because it has become ingrained in you. And I can promise you, again, y'all might not like it now while you're going through it, but when you see other people from other schools and they're not doing things, you're like, oh, well, why don't they do that? Because they weren't taught to do, right? And so what we want you all to do is come across, again, our mission is for you to be polished professionals ready to take on and leadership roles in any industry sector, right? And so in practicing that, that's why this is the place for you to learn and practice that. So we may correct you, right? Like I just told y'all at the beginning, Dr. Harper, only because I'm calling her out right now, she may not do it. But back in the day, Dr. Harper would literally tell me how many she counted when I gave a presentation. I can't see her face right now, but she used to count my ums. But I will tell you why that is beneficial and why I still appreciate it to this day, right? 30 some years later, is because when you have a great command of the English language, you can command people's attention and respect just based on your presentation of whatever the concept is, right? If you exude confidence, if you speak professionally, people are going to take notice of what you say. So I still appreciate today, and like I said, I have to get on my P's and Q's even more so when I know Dr. Harper's in the room. Not that I don't do it anyway, because it's like I have her like in the back of my head sitting on my shoulder. Y'all know the little commercial, and it would have like the little devil and the little angel sitting on the shoulder. She's really the angel, but she's the angel that's like, better make sure you're not doing any ums. Better make sure you're not using filler words. Like she sits there on my shoulder and tells me these things. But I believe that these are the things that have made me very comfortable in presenting to anybody, anywhere, anytime. And those are the skills and the level of confidence that we want you all to have when you're interacting with corporate guests, now as students, but even more so when you get out into the work world. So now let's unpack business administration. Business administration is kind of a compilation pretty much of everything else that we've talked about before. It's all the disciplines that are necessary to run a business, including the people in the business and the processes within the business. It's planning strategically to drive organization value by using the knowledge gained from the integration of all of these disciplines to analyze issues using data, people, and processes to make better decision making. And it's the general degree that allows you to specialize in one or two other areas. So again, your competitive advantage is learning how to integrate the knowledge and the learnings from these different disciplines to help you make better decisions about like all of these concepts, right? So debit and credit, one of those first things that you learn in accounting, right? And I'm not going to tell a lie. And 3 of my 4 accounting classes, I saw my way out of accounting. That means I earned a C in those accounting classes. My last one, I got a B in, but that's a whole nother story. Anyway, so, but debits and credits, right? Fundamental to everything that you're going to do in business. Understanding capital. We talked about capital. Capital is money. But if you don't know that, you could be lost. You don't know what people are talking about when they use the word capital. Decision making. At the end of the day, it's all about decision making. Allocation of resources. Sometimes you may have adequate resources. Sometimes you have scarce resources. And sometimes you may have no resources. You got to figure out how to get something done. Assets and liabilities, products or services, planning and controlling, data. What do you do with data, right? You have a whole lot of it, but what do you do with it? Supply and demand, right? You can have a great idea, but if there's no demand for it, you're not going to be able to sell much. Human resources, understanding people, right? A lot of times doing the work is not the hard part. It's managing the people who you work with that may be the hardest part, right? Technology systems, information systems, understanding how you can use technology to make your business more effective and efficient. Statistics. You might not like math, but at the end of the day, you can't get away from it. If you want to run a business and be effective at it, you got to understand statistics and analytics, right? How do you sift through all the data and the numbers that you get to boil it down to something that makes sense? Value. How do you create value? If you can't create value, then you have no value, right? And then customers and suppliers. I tell people, if you don't have a customer, you don't have a business. And if you can't make whatever you need from scratch, then you're going to be out of business, right? Because unless you learn how to negotiate and have good relationships with your suppliers. So if you analyze economics and accounting, right? So economics analyzes the variables related to the goods and the services, such as the production, production, consumption, and trade, whereas accounting does the record keeping, right, for those, or it accounts for those, the different parts of the business, right? And although they may differ in their objectives and output, they both are used to aid people in the decision-making process, such that the people can make sound economic and financial decisions. So again, I just wanted to give you all an example of why it's so important and how you can create your own personal competitive advantage by understanding the interrelatedness and interconnectedness of all of the disciplines. And my hope is that by doing this, that maybe as you all are going through these courses that you're taking, that you don't see them as siloed, but that you can actually see them as pieces of the bigger part, right? Of the bigger whole. And if you can see them as pieces of the bigger whole, you understand the bigger whole, then it makes it easier to fit the pieces in.
Thank you so much for all that information. Well, again, I am Christian Mali, a third-year accounting student originally from Tampa, Florida. Now is the time for period exploration, with the first question coming from me. Throughout your presentation, you presented a lot of information about the classes that SBI has to offer and unpacking the importance of all those classes. To some students, it may seem like information overload going from one class to the next class. What resources do we have available at SBI, or what do you suggest to students when it comes to deciding their major, what they actually want to do in their career?
Very great question, and great background information, right? Because as you said, it may be information overload. And so what I say is, one of you all's biggest resources that you have available to you is this device y'all have right here, right? I think I spoke about it earlier. You all have access to way more information than we ever had access to. And one of the things that kind of blows my mind is that you all will use your phone and look up anything on YouTube that you want to learn how to do. And you'll use it for everything except your academics. So what I say is, take a weekend and take, I don't know, an hour, which I think is not a lot of time. But if you take an hour and if you look at all the classes that you're taking, and if you say, let me go find an overview video on each one of those subject areas. And if you listen to them, and most of the videos, you could probably find some 2-minute, 3-minute, 5-minute, maybe 10-minute videos, right? In an hour, if they're 10 minutes long, you could do 6 subjects, right? Again, to me, which is a very small investment of your time to give you a broader understanding and overview of a particular topic or subject, right? And then if as a professor is going through a subject or a topic and you don't understand it, as soon as you leave, go Google the topic and just read. If you did that, I promise you things would make way more sense. And I know y'all do it every day, all day. You just don't apply it in your academic setting. But for whatever you want to do personally, you do it. Y'all can go learn how to build a doggone plane, because y'all can go look it up on YouTube and they tell you how to build a plane, right? And I wouldn't be surprised if I see one of y'all flying over here, right? So you just got to put in the time. And I do recognize that when it seems like you're made to do something, that pressure alone puts you on overload. So you're not as open as you would normally be. And that's why I say do things when you're on your own time, not because you're forced to do it. Because if you're doing it because you want to do it, I promise you, you'll retain it more. And so like now through the rest of the semester, again, take an hour on the weekend, or better yet, do an hour on Saturday, hour on Sunday, 2 hours on the weekend, and just listen to the videos. I promise you, it will open up your mind and it will start to make what you're learning in class make more sense.
Our next question will be coming from Mr. Joshua Brown.
Good afternoon. I am Joshua Brown. I'm a third-year business administration student from Jacksonville, Florida. Dean Friday-Stroud, you mentioned, not burning bridges. So I wanted to know, what is your advice when you intern with a company, let's say your sophomore summer, and then you accept an offer, you accept the return offer, and then you start to receive more offers, and it turns out to be even better offers in many different facets. How do you go about making sure that you respectfully rescind the offer at the same time while, trying to stay in contact with them for future, opportunities, just in case you never know what could happen. So what is your take on that? Thank you.
Okay, so y'all saw my gestures, right? I like slapped my forehead when you asked me that. That is probably one of the biggest issues that I deal with our corporate partners. You all don't even realize that your individual and personal decisions impact the school and future students significantly. So here's what I've told students. And for those that actually ask in advance, I am very thankful and appreciative to you all. And what I typically tell students is this. One, I always try to be a woman of my word, right? So if I accepted something, then I need to be willing to take that. And if you get another offer, you can do two things. One, so let's go back. First, if you know you're going to be looking at other offers, then you may not want to accept that offer for that return internship. You may want to say, thank you, this is awesome. Can I have time to explore my options, right? Before you ever accept. But let's say you have since accepted. In my opinion, I think you need to be a man or woman of your word, and you need to take that. And then I think with the future offers that you get, I think what you need to do is to negotiate to do those at later times. So you're not relegated to doing internships just in the summer. So if you've gotten yourself in that bind, you know what? You may have to say, I need to push back my graduation a semester because I'm going to do the internship that I committed to doing in the summer. And I'm going to see if I can do the other one either in the fall, spring, or the next summer, right? Now, if you're getting close to graduation, we may have a little more to talk about. But you also need to be honest, because I will tell y'all, recruiters talk to each other. So they know when you've accepted another job because of another job. Even though you might not say it, like y'all are really not as slick as y'all think y'all are. And so that would be one of those, I would love for you to have a discussion either with your PLD faculty member, who will then likely bring me in on the discussion, or one of your other faculty members, because it is a delicate balancing act. And I will tell you, those, and on the one hand, firms kind of know it because they're getting you to commit early for a reason, right? But at the same time, again, if you go back to the SBI oath of honor and professionalism, you got to think about short-term, long-term, personal and school-related consequences and repercussions of your actions. And this, honestly, I wrote that into the oath for that very reason, really around this, because a lot of times students were making decisions that they didn't realize was not just impacting them, but it also impacts the school. So there is a way to do it. So I'm not saying you can't do it, but I'd like to say explore other options before you do that.
But can I have a quick follow-up
yes,
question?
You may.
So, I mean, what happens like when they, like let's say you do complete the internship, you get the return offer, and then before you even have an opportunity, they give you a 2-week period for you to accept the return offer, but you haven't even had the time to, look at other companies or even.
But then you may have to say, at this time, I can't accept. Right. And then now you potentially walking away from an offer, not knowing that you have an offer. But if you're confident in your professional skills and ability, that may be a better professional decision to make than to accept it, knowing that you may rescind it later. Right. Gotcha. Because you could go back. I didn't accept it now, but I may be able to come back in 3 months and say, is that offer still available?
Gotcha. Thank you.
So I like students to look at it from all angles. Right. And again, the more information you have, the better decision you can make. You make a decision today, and then tomorrow, how many times have you made a decision today? Tomorrow, you find out another piece of information, and you're like, dog, if I knew this yesterday, I would have made a different decision. right?
Thank you for that insightful answer. Our next question will be coming from Mr. Justin Smith.
Thank you. Greetings, I'm Justin Smith, a freshman MBA candidate from Boynton Beach, Florida. So there are increasing demand in finance and human resource management. And I'm actually a student, along with my brother, who have a high interest in human resource management. On collegefactory.com, there is a possible or predicted increase in 8.4% jobs in human resource, and I believe 13.4% in finance. Based on my opinion, I believe SBI has a strong foundation on human resource along with finance. Is there any possibility in the future of these degrees being open to provide students more options to actually get more degrees in that?
So a lot of whether or not we offer the degree has to do with resources, as well as political ramifications. So, you know, we share this city with another state university, right? And there is basically a law rule on the book that says really you can't have, and they started this kind of a few years back, but it's harder for us to get a degree that FSU already has. The other thing is, truth be told, in many ways, a business administration degree gives you greater flexibility career-wise down the road than having just a degree in HR, because you can do an HR job with a business administration degree, but it will be harder for you, let's say, to get a finance job with an HR degree, right? But if you have a business administration degree, you could easily get a finance job. So what I tell students, and I would say I kind of came out. So when I came out, I had a degree in business administration. I told y'all I changed my major from accounting to business administration after my first semester. But my first job, I was a systems engineer. It had nothing to do with business administration. However, the skills that I learned in business administration through the information systems courses that I took actually put me in a position to then be a systems engineer with EDS. At that time, one of the top systems engineering companies, right? And then I left that job and I became a pharmaceutical sales rep, right? All with my business administration degree. Had I had a bachelor's degree, let's say in HR, those would have been harder sales for me and harder transitions for me to make. And so what the business administration degree allows you to do is to be a generalist, and then you can take enough hours either here, right, or as a co-op student at FSU. So if you want to take additional electives in HR, you can do that through the co-op program. You just need to speak with your advisor and let them know. And then any employer can see the number of courses that you would have in HR on your transcript, and they would still look at you for the same thing. Now, the reason I said that it's a resource issue is because when you get a degree in that area, then that means I also need to have more faculty who are credentialed in those areas to support those degrees, right? Whereas in business administration, it's easier from a resource perspective to have the faculty to cover all of those courses, but I don't have to have as many people who are specialists in those areas, although they can prepare you in those areas. And then that's the other reason why we add the internships for us, that they're required, because in addition to your coursework, you can gain that HR experience through the internship offers, through the internships that you take. So what I say is the business administration degree, and I am biased, right, because I have one, so I put my biases on the table. But I think a business administration degree is going to serve you better down the road, because you can get a job in HR and marketing with that same business degree easier. But if you have just an HR degree, you would have a hard time if you decide you want to change fields.
Thank you.
Okay.
Well, next question is going to Mr. Eric Marcelli.
Greetings once again. I'm Eric Marcel, graduating senior from Tampa, Florida by way of Queens, New York. And with the different opportunities that SBI offers that you covered in your presentation, what do you recommend for students who are still trying to find themselves within SBI and figure out a focus that they want to pursue, but they're not yet sure?
So what I say is business administration is the great degree for that. But honestly, truth be told, any of the degrees are the great degree for that, right? But I say business administration because business administration is going to give you breadth across the business disciplines, and then it allows you to go into depth into one or two specialized areas, right? Because you're required pretty much to take 2 classes in every area, and then you have electives, 4 electives that you get to take that you can layer that on to get you the additional focus. And so again, if you have that business administration degree, it sets you up for a multitude of career options when you graduate. I will tell you the advice my daddy gave my brother, sister, and I when we were finished. He was like, if you don't know exactly what it is you want to do, you're going to major in business. Because I know if you major in business, when you get out, you can get a job. So, and I would say, I don't think, I've done too shabby following that advice. So.
All right. And our next question is coming from Mr. Edmonds for listening. I understand how unprofessional it is to go back when they accept an offer, and I understand how it may affect career partners' relationship with SBI. Some of our career partners have rescinded offers for cost reduction without giving any alternatives to a student who accepted their offer. Mind you, they may give students as little as a 2-week notice. How are career partners held accountable for this type of business practice?
So I would ask first, I can't hold anybody accountable for something I don't know about. So what I would ask is, because the business partner is not going to tell us if they did that. So then what I would ask is that you share that with Dr. Young Clark, right? Because she's going to work directly with them. And then once she has the information, she'll share that with me. And then we'll have that conversation with the company. Because I will tell you, it would be a great position for me to be in to now flip the tables on them when they rip me a new one sometimes when students rescind offers. So, but again, I can't do anything if I don't know anything about it. So Mr. Philistine, if that's a situation that you've experienced, then it would be great if you would share that. And then we can have that conversation with the partner.
Next question is going to Professor White.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I am, of course, a product of the School of Business and Industry, coming from the traditional model that established SBI as the leader in business education. The University of, or the Graduate School of Leadership and Change at Antioch University, which is where I'm studying for my doctoral degree, talks about the interdisciplinary study of research and practice for leading change in positive ways. Given that COVID-19 has challenged all of us to do our jobs differently, Dr. Friday-Stroud, what's your long-term or what's your strategic vision for ensuring that SBI adapts to what the new educational landscape and global marketplace is going to require for our students?
Yeah, so thank you so much for that question, Professor White. And, for me, what I've looked at and said, and I've actually, and you can, I think, attest to this or correct me if I'm wrong, but in every, pretty much every faculty and staff meeting that we've had, I actually try to see what things we have had to implement to transition to remote education as a result of COVID. And I've said, I am crystal clear on there will be some elements that will have to be retained. And y'all can go tell Crystal Clear that I still say crystal clear. Anyway, I don't know if y'all remember Crystal? I don't know how long she's been gone, but anyway, so we had a student, her name was Crystal Clear. And even before she started here, that was one of my sayings. And then that was her name. And I was like, okay, so sorry, I just had to digress there for a moment. But I am crystal clear on the fact that there are some elements of what we have implemented as we transitioned into this COVID environment that we will need to retain when we revert back to or get back as close to normal as we knew it pre-COVID, right? And so let me go ahead and tell y'all now, that will not stop Lee Hall forms. So when we can, we will be going back to Lee Hall in form attire. But what I will say is, for a lot of SBI classes pre-COVID, there was an online or a hybrid section to that course. I will say now pretty much going forward, there will likely always be a online or a hybrid section to each course. And I see that there's opportunity for us to grow enrollment because there were some students that we know chose not to come because they, for various reasons, didn't want to relocate or couldn't relocate to Tallahassee, right? But with them having the option to take courses remotely, they could be an SBIan. But my philosophy on that is, if you're going to be an SBIan, you have to be an SBIan, which means you have to be baptized and immersed into the SBI culture. And so we will make sure that the various elements of our professional leadership development program, that students are able to take advantage of those and gain those experiences. So for me, it's how do we take everything that we've done and figure out how to marry that with what we've traditionally done to move SBI forward, right? Because I would be crazy to think that we can go back 100% the way we were, recognizing that we've created some comforts around what we're doing now. And again, you all have inspired me as students and as faculty and staff, right? Because we've all risen to the occasion. I mean, when I think about the hours that we worked over the summer to make sure that we were ready to kick off a fall semester of new students, right? So, the returning students, at least you all were ingrained into the SBI culture already, but you think about bringing new students in, right? And I think we've done a yeoman's job of bringing them in and inculcating them into the SBI culture. And so for me, it's how do we take, again, elements of what we've done and marry it successfully with the things that are true to SBI culture. And I'm confident that we'll be able to deliver on that. And I know because of the commitment and the training that our faculty and staff have undertaken, that we'll be able to continue to, use the learnings from COVID to actually make us better going forward. So I hope that answered your question.
Thank you so much.
But again, I don't want people to think that everything is going back to remote, because there will be some on-campus stuff when we can.
All right, and our final question is going to be fielded to Mr. Taft Green. Greetings. I am Taft Green III, a fourth-year accounting student from Tallahassee, Florida. You mentioned that the building blocks in the SBI curriculum are helpful to everybody, especially for those who want to be entrepreneurs. However, not every student wants to be an entrepreneur, but wants to become a leader in a company and stand out in the corporate world. Should a student utilize different technical skills other than the skills that they have learned in the major and got a degree for to stand out against competitors?
So no, I honestly, everything that you learn in SBI is useful for you, whether you are going to go work in a company or whether you're going to work in your own company, right? And so, truth be told, it's the same skill set. It's really no different because, truth be told, most companies today are looking for intrapreneurs, right? So they're looking for those individuals that can come in with fresh, creative, innovative ideas and help them move their business forward. Pretty much like what Professor White just asked me, like, how can we take what we've learned and apply it to improve on our current business models? I mean, that's it at the end of the day. And every course and every degree program that we have here in SBI will actually set you up to be successful in the corporate arena, in the governmental arena, or in the entrepreneurial arena, right? Or in the nonprofit arena. So at the end of the day, if you look at SBI's mission, our mission is to produce graduates who are capable of being leaders across all disciplines. So it really doesn't matter what type of company. I will tell you, at the end of the day, you can go run a hospital after coming out with a degree in SBI, right? Because at the end of the day, you will know how to run a business. A hospital is a business, right? If you want to go and be superintendent of a school district, you may have to go and take some educational course and get some certifications, but you could run a school district because you know how to run a business or an organization. And at the end of the day, a conglomerate of people is an organization. And what you learn in SBI, one, is how to work with people, how to manage people, how to manage processes, and how to make decisions. And if you can marry all of that and have a very good financial, accounting, and economics background, which if you think about it, in every degree program within SBI, you take accounting, finance, and economics. Name the major, they are in the in that curriculum, right? And so we have designed curricula that we know will set you all up to be leaders, major players in any type of organization that you choose to go to work for.
This concludes the period exploration. I'll now hand the mic over to Justin Smith to close us out.
Again, Dr. Friday-Stroud, thank you so much. You're able to basically compound on what SBI stands for and what we're learning. There are any announcements. All I need to tell you guys is that forum will be on March the 11th. And with all hearts and minds are clear, forum is dismissed.